Yo, what's up guys, it's King Sean here, back with another video, and in today's video, I'll be discussing some free agent wide receiver targets the Commanders could look to sign this 2024 free agency. So, if you guys are new to my channel, leave a like down below, subscribe, I turn on notifications, I'm on the road to 3K subs. If you could, hit that sub button, I'd really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so the first guy we're going to go ahead and start with is T. Higgins. He's been with the Bengals for the past 4 seasons, obviously. He's been with the Bengals for his entire career ever since 2020. Okay, let's read off his stats. First off, this past season, 2023, was probably, well, it was his worst season of his career, but that's partially due to injury because he only played in 12 games. He missed about 5 or 6, but he put up 42 receptions, 656 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Still not a horrible season, but not amazing compared to his other seasons. In 2022, he played in all 16 games, had 74 receptions, 1,029 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2021, played in 14 games, 74 catches, 1,091 yards, 6 touchdowns. And in 2020, his rookie season, played in all 16 games, had 67 catches, 908 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So T. Higgins, obviously, he is one of, if not the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL right now. I'd probably rank him as my top 5 wide receiver 2 in the NFL right now. He'd probably come here near like 4 or 3, maybe 2. But he's a really good freaking receiver. Now, the Bengals, I have heard that they're most likely going to use the franchise tag on him. By the way, the franchise tag window is open tomorrow, February 20th, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, New York time. So stay tuned for that. Some guys I could get tagged: Antoine Winfield, Michael Pittman Jr., who I will be talking about later in this video, and obviously T. Higgins. I know the Bengals don't want to lose him. I know Tyler Boyd is also a free agent this offseason for them, who is the Bengals wide receiver 3, so losing both of them could hurt them. So they would want to try and retain T. Higgins, even if that's by tagging him. Now, his market value right now per spot track is, and this is just a calculated market value, this is just an estimate, this isn't an exact, but his market value per spot track is $18.6 million per year. I think he's going to get way more than that. I think he's going to get like $80 to $20 million, maybe $20 to $25 million per year. I've heard a lot of people have been saying he's going to get $25 million per year, which is pretty insane, not going to lie. But you could say he's worth it. I mean, he had a pretty disappointing season this past year, but his seasons prior, he was really freaking good. I mean, y'all know it. So T. Higgins, obviously, jump ball wide receiver, big body. He's a guy we need. He's the type of receiver that we haven't had here in a while. So I would love the signing of T. Higgins. I'm just worried that it would be a bit too expensive because it says $18.6 million on Spotrac. There's no way he's getting $18.6 million. He's going to get way more than that, probably $20 to $25 million. And then we already have a guy in Terry McLaurin we're paying $23 million per year. So I don't know if I would give that type of money to T. Higgins, which would kind of, push me away from signing him. But that's just me. Comment down y'all thoughts on T. Higgins, whether or not you would like the Commanders to sign him or not. But this is the first receiver I have on this list. On to the next. Next guy I got up is Michael Pittman Jr., Colts wide receiver right now. He's going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason and is another franchise tag candidate. Right now, his market value per spot track, and like I said, these are all estimates, is $22.7 million. It's actually pretty interesting that his market value is higher than T. Higgins' market value because I personally feel like T. Higgins is the better wide receiver than Michael Pittman Jr. But Michael Pittman Jr., like T. Higgins, is the type of wide receiver we need on this team and the type of wide receiver we haven't had for a while. He's a big dude. I'm pretty sure he's 6'4". Let me read off his stats real quick. In 2020, his rookie season, only played in 13 games due to injury. He had 40 receptions, 503 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't do too much, but in 2021, he took a big leap, played in all 17 games, had 88 receptions for 1,082 yards, 6 touchdowns. 2022, fell off a little bit, played in all 16 games, had 99 receptions, 925 yards receiving, and 4 touchdowns. And then this past season, his best season by far, in my opinion, played in 16 games, 109 receptions, 1,152 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he was top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards as well. Michael Pittman Jr., he was an absolute dog this past season. I can see why his market value is over $20 million per year. I personally feel like, and he's one of the premier wide receiver twos. I think the premier wide receiver twos in the free agency class are T. Higgins and Michael Pittman. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of shocked his market value is over T. Higgins, like I said, because I think T. Higgins is the better wide receiver. But Michael Pittman Jr. is no slouch at all. I just read off his stats this past season. He is an elite wide receiver too, in my opinion. I think he would have had better stats too if Anthony Richardson didn't get injured early on. I know Gardner Minshew, he was doing this thing for the most part of the season, but if Anthony Richardson didn't get injured, I think his stats would have looked way, way better. He's the receiver we need now. $22.7 million, like I said, with T. Higgins. That's a little too much because we're already paying Terry McLaurin like $23.5 million per year. And you'd give T. Higgins wide receiver 1 money to be our wide receiver 2. Or you don't have to have an exact wide receiver 1. Terry McLaurin could be like wide receiver 1A. Pittman wide receiver 1B. So you could think of it like that, but that is a lot of money. However, if we were to get Michael Pittman, I'd be super, super excited. I think the most I'd probably pay him is like $21 million per year. The least being maybe $18 million per year. I feel like that's good. $18 to $21 million per year for Michael Pittman, would be pretty solid. So that is the second guy I have on my list, and on to the next. Next up, we got Mike Evans, and it's looking like he's gonna test the market, the free agency market, because it was reported today by Jordan Schultz. The Buccaneers had a soft deadline today to get an extension done with Pro Bowl wide receiver Mike Evans, but both sides remain far apart, sources say. Tampa Bay is set to take on $7.4 million in 2024 dead money by not getting a deal done today. So if the Buccaneers were to get a deal done today with Mike Evans, a contract extension, they would have saved some cap space, I think $7.4 million in cap space. Now they are going to endure $7.4 million in dead cap in 2024. Now they can still get a deal done with Mike Evans, but it's seeming like they're not going to put the franchise tag on him because it costs a whole lot, which means that Evans is probably going to test the free agent market. So as y'all know, I mean, Mike Evans, elite wide receiver. He had one of his best seasons this past year in 2023, which is crazy. He had 17. He played in all 17 games, had 19 receptions, 1,255 yards, and 13 touchdowns, which is absolutely incredible. Obviously, through his first 10 seasons in the NFL, he's had a 1,000-yard season, which is insane. He's probably a future Hall of Fame wide receiver, in my opinion, at least. I mean, the media believes it. NFL fans believe it, so he's probably a future Hall of Famer. But his market value per spot track is $23.8 million. I think he's going to get somewhere around $25 million, maybe $20 to $25 million. For Mike Evans, I personally, if we were to sign him, I wouldn't mind it, but I prefer someone like T. Higgins or Michael Pittman, just because they're younger than Mike Evans and could do similar things to Mike Evans. Obviously, Mike Evans, big dude, he's 6'5", he's the type of guy, he's the type of receiver we need in this wide receiver core. We don't have a receiver over 6'1". The only receiver that is 6'1" is De'Ami Brown. We got no wide receivers in this wide receiver group right now who is over that height, which is insane. So we need a big guy. We definitely do, whether we draft them, whether we sign one. But in today's video, I'm talking about signing some, and most of these wide receivers I'm talking about are big guys, which is what we need on this team. Like I said, I think $23.8 million, a little bit too much for Mike Evans, especially at his age. I mean, he's still an elite wide receiver, so any other team, I feel like that'd be good for him. But he's 30 years old. He's still, like I said, he's still elite, but he's 30 years old. He's only getting older, so I feel like $23.8 million is a bit much. And like I said, I've said this entire video so far, we already have Terry McLaurin that we're paying $23.5 million. So I'd much rather give that type of money to T. Higgins or Michael Pittman rather than Mike Evans. But to comment down below, if we were to sign Mike Evans, would y'all mind it? Or would y'all wouldn't mind it? You know what I'm saying? Would you guys like it, or would y'all not like it? So I personally would be okay about it. Wouldn't be a huge fan at first, but I'd probably get warmed up to it. So that's Mike Evans, and on to the next guy. All right, now on to Marquise Hollywood Brown, former first-round pick from 2019 draft, drafted by the Ravens from Oklahoma, obviously. And in his rookie season with the Ravens, he was pretty good. I mean, he played in 14 games, had 46 receptions, 584 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I think he led the league, well, led rookies that year in touchdowns. 2020, played in all 16 games, had 58 receptions, 769 yards, 8 touchdowns, a little bit of a better season. 2021 is when he had the best season of his career, played in 16 games, 91 receptions, 1,008 yards, and 6 touchdowns. 2022, he got traded to the Cardinals during the 2022 NFL Draft. He was traded for a first-round pick. With the Cardinals, his first season with the Cardinals, he played in 12 games, had 67 receptions, 709 yards, 3 touchdowns. And in 2022, he played in only 14 games. Well, in 2023, he played in only 14 games, had 51 receptions, 574 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So Hollywood, he hasn't really lived up to expectations. He's been kind of injured throughout his career. He's only played in 2 full seasons. So, well, he's only played a whole 16 games in 2 seasons. So that's 2 out of 5 seasons. That's not great. He hasn't really lived up to expectations. Like I said, his market value, his estimated market value per spot track is $14.8 million per year. I think that's a bit too much, because if we were to bring Marquise Brown here, he'd probably be our wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 2, but probably our wide receiver 3. I would probably give Hollywood maybe $10 to $13 million, $13 million at max. But if you look at the deal we gave Curtis Samuel a few years back in 2021, we gave him a 3-year, I want to say $33 million deal, somewhere around that. That's 11. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure it was a 3-year, $34.5 million deal. Sorry. That's $11.5 million per year. I feel like Marquise Brown could get somewhere around that. And if he does, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Now, if we're doing that, we might as well decide to, bring Curtis Samuel back. Maybe that's what the front office is thinking. I don't know, though. But I feel like if I were the front office, I'd only give Marquise Brown like $10 to $13 million per year. But the reason I'm talking about him anyways is because Cliff Kingsbury, he was the Cardinals head coach from 2019 to 2022. Marquise Brown, he was under his system for 1 season. So the connections are there with Marquise Brown and Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury could try and convince Adam Peters to sign him. So he's an option. Marquise Brown is definitely an option there. I wouldn't mind it at all if it is relatively cheap. Some other options include, before I end today's video, some other options include Tyler Boyd. We might want to sign him as a wide receiver 3. Maybe bringing back Curtis Samuel as our wide receiver 3 as well. He was pretty good this past season. Well, the past couple of seasons with us. Kendrick Bourne as well. Cedric Wilson. Kendrick Bourne. And those are really the other guys that we could be interested in. Oh, as well as Calvin Ridley. Maybe we might want to bring him in as our wide receiver 2. Maybe wide receiver 3. But wide receiver 2. I doubt the Jaguars really re-sign him, because if they do, they would owe the Falcons a 2nd round pick. So that is really it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe, turn on notifications, monitor the 3K subs if you could. Hit that sub button. I'd really appreciate it. And other than that, it's been King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.